Welcome to American Education FM, everybody. I'm Dr. Sean Brooks. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm going to make some geopolitical comments here that are going to be rather brief. I think this is going to be an interesting week. I think it's already shaping up to be. I think there's a great deal of things that are already happening, and it seems like a table has been set here for a great deal of things to transpire. First of all, a lot of people were, again, blowing up about this one. Absolutely fantastic as far as I'm concerned. There is a at Florin Truth, FLORINTRUTH, or Flowpop, over on X, and they posted an image, an AI-generated image of Donald Trump with the world behind him, and it says, "The world will soon understand." There's a Q plus in his left hand, which signifies him, of course, and then it says, "Nothing can stop what is coming" at the bottom. Donald Trump, of course, retruthed this directly from X onto his truth page, and people are losing their minds. And I love it. Again, he's not doing this in order to psychologically subvert those who read the Q drops. That's not the point. He's reposted Q-related drops before. He's reposted Q-related images before. This isn't new, but it's very in your face and very direct. And when something like this happens, of course, the mainstream media has one of two choices. They either get involved and they start making comments about it and then try to discredit it, or they make fun of it, or they flat out ignore it, I suppose. There's a third option. They've decided to basically take the third option of ignoring it, but at the exact same time, Gavin Newsom has reposted it, but he's put himself in the position of Donald Trump, but kept the Q plus in his left hand. Again, all this is doing is turning on a light and drawing people into that light. All it's doing is exposing more people to those Q drops and how relevant they are. There's going to be far more declassification that's going to occur here, certainly in the near future. Again, the last time that Tulsi Gabbard was at the cabinet meeting, she openly admitted that this is going to be the case, that all of these individuals are going to be exposed. And here we are, of course, entering the month of September, where we were promised that RFK, of course, is going to be releasing facts about studies having to do with vaccination and how all vaccines are poison. And that you can't just take particular poisons or metals out of, or even fetal tissue out of these particular shots, that in general the entire thing is poisonous and useless. You also have, of course, Donald Trump openly saying that he's going to sign an executive order having to do with mail-in ballots, and that there won't be mail-in ballots unless, of course, it's for the very ill who can't move from point A to point B, and also, of course, military individuals. But that, again, he's doing this to also increase voter ID, and he's implementing that, or at least advocating for it at the very least. And we're going to, again, have to see what happens with all of this, but there's a lot of moving parts here. So, again, just honing in on the image itself, and, of course, the world will soon understand nothing can stop what is coming. These are two actual Q posts, and if you type both phrases in, then this is what you end up with. There is post 3914 on April 8th of 2020, and it says, "The world will soon understand." And then the image that is attached is the armor of God, which is Ephesians. Ephesians 10, "Finally be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might. Put on the full armor of God so that you will be able to stand firm against the schemes of the devil." And then it goes on and on. And then there's post 4944, October 11th of 2020. It says, "Are you ready to finish what we started? Nothing can stop what is coming" is not just a catchphrase, Q. There are also 20 posts total that contain the phrase "nothing can stop what is coming." And if you type in Q plus into the search box on OperationQ.pub, there we go, you'll get 48 posts. Again, I'm not going to read through every single post, but they are there for your viewing and your readership if you are interested in your analysis. And again, it's directly implied that when we were reading these Q drops as they were happening, that any single time that a particular post, rather, would be signed off as Q plus, and that was Donald Trump directly, that he was the one dictating the message to be sent out to the people. Again, this is not an accident. This is not some negative psychological operation. It is a military operation. It is real. It is used to remind people and galvanize people and everything else that I've mentioned, but it is ongoing, and it is continuing to happen here. I want to mention this too, of course, geopolitically speaking, and it's not good for Israel, clearly, which is, not a bad thing. The more negative light that they're seen in, I think, the better. Same thing with Netanyahu. Is again, more and more news is coming out about Netanyahu and more things that he, of course, has openly said. He's basically said that you're not Make America Great Again if you don't like him. That if you're not a Netanyahu fan, then you're not Make America Great Again, so you can't call yourself MAGA. Here's the thing. He doesn't seem to understand that the vast majority of us Americans really don't give a damn about slogans. We're not interested in slogans. That a real objective human being is just interested in the facts. We know that there are only truths and lies, and that's it. There is the truth, and then there are endless lies. The entire, again, last week and all the psychological operations that were happening last week, specifically with the fake school shooting, which I'll get into again here in just a little bit, with more evidence that it was in fact fake, because again, you just let a few days pass and they will show you that it was fake. But every single time that something like that happens, in particular, again, where some country's leader, so to speak, tries to throw individuals under the bus, and in particular individuals who don't even live in that country nor care about it, and he speaks as if we should just blindly care about him, he has another thing coming. Again, in lockstep, they just bombed allegedly and killed the Prime Minister of Yemen, or the leader of Yemen. Now, I'm not claiming that the guy is a good guy. He might not be. The point is that you have an individual who is allegedly the leader of a country in Netanyahu directly targeting the prime minister and murdering a prime minister of another country. So he's apparently allowed to do that, but nobody else is. Isn't that interesting? And then, of course, in Ukraine, an opposition leader to Zelensky was murdered in broad daylight. Again, these mobsters are showing everybody exactly who they are and what they're capable of. That if you disagree with them, they want you dead. They will ostracize you. They will, of course, attempt to humiliate you, take your banking, shut your banking down, run your name through the mud on the internet, or 1,000 other things. Again, if you tell the truth about these individuals, they really, of course, want nothing to do with you, but they sick their dogs on you also. And it's interesting, too, because there's endless individuals who claim to be on the so-called awake right who do the exact same thing. That if you say something that is truthful, when, again, these are supposed to be the so-called awake individuals, again, they either don't respond to you or they try to ostracize you or a number of other things. Again, it's all Bolshevism. And as I've said before, Bolshevism is just straight-up murder in the end. Yeah, they use humiliation tactics and a bunch of other stuff, but they just want you dead. They want you broke, ostracized, and then dead. So again, the more that this gets exposed and the more that you allow these individuals, again, to continue to do what they're doing, and I think they need to be stopped eventually, and I certainly hope that that's going to be the case, but they're waking up endless individuals and destroying themselves in the process with next to no effort on anybody's part. And again, they're exposing themselves for who they really are. So yeah, it's the art of war. There's no doubt about that. And it's always in play and it always works. Of this, I have absolutely no doubt. So again, geopolitically, I just would say this, just kind of as a quick summary here. I think there's going to be a great deal of things that happen here this week. Again, there has to be more D-class that's coming out. We've seen a great deal already. It's remarkably damning. But again, the time is going to have to come here where someone's going to have to be arrested. And of course, we're going to have to see that. And even Donald Trump, again, has called for these individuals to be publicly arrested, like John Brennan and James Comey. He's openly truth posted that out, which is rather brazen. But again, think of the last time that a president of the United States has openly called for previous administrative officials, so to speak, within these three-letter agencies or what have you, certainly in a previous administration as a whole, albeit fake, but they date back to the Obama administration too, openly called for them to be arrested. Again, what other president in our lifetime has ever done that? Again, I find it remarkable, And I'm certain that they fully understand, certainly the good guys behind this operation fully understand that we have to be able to see accountability. That's what they want because they've tried to kill them. That's what we want because they've tried to kill us, imprison individuals, of course, unlawfully, taking individuals' jobs, money, you name it. So I think there's a lot coming here. This is going to be a real interesting month. Not to mention September is what? Preparedness Month? So here we are again. Rather interesting. With that said, it's also, of course, the 9/11 anniversary and that entire hoax yet again coming up here. There are many 9/11 documentaries that I suggest that people watch. There's a rather new one out by Badlands Media. It's called Codex 9/11. You can get on Rumble and check that out. I highly recommend it. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched some of it. And what I can tell you is that it is remarkably thorough and it provides a great deal of information, of course, that the mainstream media never even covered. It doesn't directly say that there were no planes on 9/11, but it implies drones. Certainly, when it comes to Pennsylvania and even the Pentagon explosion. However, they don't even necessarily imply drones with the trade towers. In fact, they don't even bring up airplanes. Certainly not in the portion that I saw. They don't bring up hijackers. They basically just bring up the sort of improbable nature of the story, so to speak. But they don't come right out and say there were no planes on 9/11, which is, of course, what they should have said because that's the truth. Either way, now is a great time, again, to continue to wake up to that massive lie. And I'll be honest with you, and again, I think I've told this story before, but when I was becoming red-pilled, of course, and waking up to the amount of fraud and death and destruction that our government and numerous governments, of course, across the world have engaged in, when I arrived at the subject of 9/11 and started to watch videos and investigate it and whatever, when I arrived at the conclusion, again, applying the scientific method and running it over and over and over again. And again, I had to run it through the scientific method on a constant basis because, again, I was just arriving at more truth every single time that I did that. Once I arrived at the conclusion that there were no planes on 9/11, it actually brought me to tears because I thought to myself, the number of people who have died as a result of that massive lie is an incalculable number. Because again, based on that lie alone, which was, of course, a giant satanic ritual as well, you're talking about individuals in foreign countries, including men, women, and children of all ages, who were killed as a result of that manufactured TV lie. And they go into some of it, again, specifically in Codex 9/11, that particular documentary. But again, it'll slow a person down and it'll bring you to your knees. And once a person, again, arrives at that absolute truth, then I would say you're awake and you're starting to wake up. But we have to remember again what Leonardo da Vinci said about people. He said there's three kinds of people that exist in the world. There are people who see, there are people who will never see, but then there are people who will see when shown. And again, the entire 9/11 thing and that, again, satanic psychological operation that it was, that is one of those things where an individual really has to see it. That's when a person will wake up, is when they start to see the actual lies in front of their face, because then you can look at it with a different mindset. So that's my recommendation. Again, I'm going to throw together another little 9/11 video because I do that every single year. I'll put it out on my BitChute and Rumble channel. I'll make mention of it on the show when I release that, and then there you go. Again, it'll be some updated clips on a few things, a number of memes, that kind of stuff. So yeah, now is always a good time to learn. And again, around an event like this, it really is a good time to learn because the amount of lies that are going to be told on 9/11 on all these news channels, because they all do it. I mean, they all run through the ceremonies and everything else. They're not telling the truth either. Even Tucker Carlson, again, is claiming that he's got a 5-part series on 9/11 that he's going to put out, that if you're a paid subscriber to him, then you'll be able to watch all 5 parts immediately. But if you're not, then they'll come out one at a time. It'll be interesting, again, to see how he approaches the particular subject. But again, he's an individual who is starting to wake up also. Even though, again, he kind of plays middle of the road and he acts like he's, innocent on particular issues and naive on particular issues, when in fact he's rather not. He probably knows a great deal about a number of subjects, but he's sort of slow rolling a lot of this information for people. But again, if he arrives at a conclusion that there were planes on 9/11, then he's lying. Because again, if a person runs the scenario and all of the information and all of the documentaries that exist out there and you watch them, and you can start to connect the dots and again, sort through the information and put them in their own necessary categories, you are going to arrive rather at the exact same conclusion. So it'll be interesting to see again what information Tucker Carlson actually puts out there. But either way, I hope it's truthful. Now, with that said, we also know geopolitically that there are wars going on all over the United States, specifically again between people and their government. Certainly in this case, when it comes to the so-called crown countries of the UK, Canada, and Australia. The UK and Australia have been engaging in rallies, certainly the people have, against their own government. And you have agitators, again, on both sides, or actually not on both sides, in both countries, trying to turn the rallies into some violent get-together, when clearly that's not the case. Take Rebel Media, for example. Rebel Media is a Jewish-owned, Canadian-based media outlet. They are Zionists. They've openly said this. Most of their employees are Jewish. They are not freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and there's nothing objective nor truthful about Rebel Media. That's my opinion, and there's ample evidence to show that that's the case. One of their correspondents is named Avi Yemeni. This guy is Jewish, and of course he bounces all over the nation, whether that be the United States, Canada, Australia, UK, you name it. And walks around with a microphone and shoves it in people's faces and whatever else. He loves going to Australia and mixing it up with the National Socialist boys over there. And he just loves agitating them. And he tries to provoke violence. And this is, again, what communists do. It's directly in the playbook of Bolshevism. I mean, again, a Jewish individual links up with their other Jewish buddies. They get cameras on them. They get microphones in their face. They walk around with their security, and then they approach individuals who are peacefully protesting or peacefully marching. They find a particular group of people that they don't like, and then they try to agitate them again to get a violent response in an effort to get them thrown in jail. Well, I don't think it worked, but again, there's footage on my social media account of Avi Yemeni doing this. And again, he's a piece of trash, but that's all he has because he's not interested in learning the truth about anything. He's interested in, again, literally fighting and agitating individuals that he disagrees with. So keep in mind, again, that this is happening consistently. Now, there's also this, and this is a 5-minute piece of audio that I want to play, and it's disturbing. I assume it's true. I have no reason to believe that it isn't. I don't necessarily have a source, but this is an individual, rather, describing themselves as being a bed and breakfast owner in a rather specific location in the United Kingdom, specifically in Great Britain. And they're openly saying again, and this is actually accurate, they are doing this. The government itself is approaching individuals who own hotels or bed and breakfasts, and they're, again, approaching their owners and offering them a great deal of money, almost per person, or again, just a great deal of money based on their own property and the size of their property to house illegal aliens. Now, I find the word usage funny because even the individuals who are having this proposition put on them are calling them migrants or refugees or whatever. No, they're neither of those things. They're just illegal aliens. In fact, you can call them invaders. Because when you hear this audio, this is allegedly what is happening in one of these bed and breakfasts. And it's not good. I'm just going to let him speak for himself. You can give this a listen. And again, you can take it with a grain of salt if you'd like, but then you'd have to ask yourself, again, run it through the scientific method. Is this plausible? Is this one of the things that is happening? The fact is it is happening because it's already happened. But this, again, just came out recently. I put it on my social media accounts. Again, you can check it out over there too, even download it. But give this guy a listen in 3, 2, 1.
Wells, first of all, I want to apologise because I feel I betrayed you. This is going to be very hard for me to do, but it needs to be told. I'm not going to tell you my name, you could just call me the whistleblower, because this needs to be told. I own a small bread and breakfast / hotel on the outskirts between London and Bristol. Exactly where, I won't say. I was commandeered by the office of 10 Downing Street to rehome refugee families. When the first lot of refugees came, there was not one woman, there was not one child. The people that turned up were men from the age of 19 to 30, I would say. I have enough room for about 250 residents. I currently house 150 immigrants. Yes, I did receive quite a large sum of money for doing so. On doing so, the government told me that I had to fire all my staff and they will supply their own, and also that they will supply security guards for the bread and breakfast. Well, about 2 weeks ago, I received a phone call to say that a large parcel will be arriving sometime this evening. Around about 2:30 in the morning, I received another phone call to say that the parcel has arrived and can I open up the rear serving entrance at the back of the B&B, which I went down and met some army personnel, which kind of surprised me very, very much. The person in charge, I don't know who he was, colonel or whatnot, asked me to show him to a secure room within the B&B, which I did. On doing so, they loaded in roughly between 60 and 70 really big crates. I asked what was in the crates, and I was told that I was not permitted to know. He then handed me a smaller parcel and told me that I will receive a phone call to give me further instructions on what to do and when to open this parcel, which was very strange. So I've had this parcel now for about a week in my office, and I started talking to a friend of mine, and he said, well, do you know what, you don't know what's inside these parcels, it could be anything. It's your property, whatever's inside your property, you ain't the right to open, and I should have a look what it was. And I was debating about it for a little while, and I thought, you know what, you are kind of right. If it's in my property, I want to know what it is. So I opened the small parcel up, and inside was a letter with a list of names and numbers written next to the name. On realising that each name on the letter was one of the refugees, and there was a smaller box inside the parcel. I opened that, and there was a series of keys with numbers on. So I went down to the secure lock where these crates were and noticed that each crate had a number on it and each key had a number on it. So I took 2 keys for 2 of the crates and I opened up the crates. Crate 1. There was a load of AK-47 machine guns. Crate 2 were a number of hand grenades. Now, when I say this, I'm saying this as you could start a new war off with what I was looking at. There was enough ammunition inside one of the crates to easy wipe out my little village. Boom, gone, easy. Now I'm a bit stuck because I don't want these refugees here anymore, but I'm contracted to house them for a period of time. I don't know if I can give the government their money back and tell them to sweet off or not, I don't know. All I do know is, in good faith, I cannot allow these men to have these crates. I am going to move them away from my property to a secure garage that I have not too far, because I'm not going to be responsible for allowing our government to kill us, the innocent people. Because it's obvious to me now that this is their plan.
Now, again, I have no reason to doubt that. I've seen footage, ample footage, of particular, again, housing complexes, apartments, hotels, you name it. We've all seen this. We know that this has been going on in the UK for a very long time. Again, it's been going on in Great Britain, it's been going on in Scotland, it's been going on in Ireland, probably Wales, why not? Germany, you can pick a country. But the vast majority of the so-called immigrants, and they're not, they're invaders, they are in fact of teenage age, and of course, all the way through their 20s, 30s, and even 40s. These are military-aged individuals. So if the government is bringing them in, not women and children per se, but just men, if they're bringing them in and giving them a place to live, why would it not be plausible that they would arm them? In the interest, again, of allowing those individuals to defend themselves in what is otherwise a armless wing of the entire world, where these individuals, again, who are legal citizens, are by and large disarmed and don't have guns. That's how you destroy a country. Not to mention the Muslim faith in general. They're not interested in assimilating to Christianity. Their entire religion and race is antithetical to Christianity. Their entire mission is to multiply, take over, and then uproot anything having to do with anything Christian-related whatsoever, certainly white Christians. This is the plan. This is their plan. This is what they want to accomplish, and they're, again, continuing to do this. So again, people can take it with a grain of salt if they'd like, but when you run it through the scientific method and you look at all of the evidence that does exist, that particular story is very, very plausible, without a doubt. So again, I'd keep an eye out for things like that, because again, even J.D. Vance and Donald Trump have openly said that the individuals who live in these countries need to stand up and fight back. I mean, you've got UK police ripping down British flags, regardless of the kind of British flag, the Union Jack and all the other ones that they have, but they're ripping them down, and then the citizens are putting them back up, and the police are ripping them down. And then you have footage again of police officers blatantly assaulting individuals again because they're waving a flag. These are nations that are on the brink of war with their own government. And I think it's ample time that it actually happen, because it's not happened yet before. They need to have their own revolutions over there. I mean, we're still having ours. Ours is 250 years old. So again, that certainly, in my opinion, is something that people are going to want to keep an eye on. I'll mention this now, just kind of sliding into education, that as a result, of course, of all of this pacification and everything that's taken place over the decades and years and generations, that, of course, deception is one of the things that's at the very top of the list when it comes to pacifying people. And as I've said before, and again, I'm going to be a broken record on it briefly, but I just continue to be disappointed at all of the individuals that have these massive, massive accounts on social media, and they still can't read between the lines. They still can't analyze something that's right in front of their face that's blatantly fake. Again, the Minneapolis school shooting here could not be more fake. It's I would say worse than Sandy Hook. Sandy Hook was bad. I mean, that was very fake. Uvalde, same thing. Different twists and turns in the story, but there are so many consistencies, again, among all of these fake stories and falsehoods, that's, again, what people apparently cannot connect. And then they get, of course, deceived and misled with the entire tranny festo storyline that has been created over the last 3 fake school shootings. Isn't it odd? But again, these people show you exactly who they are because they come right up to the camera and they tell you. So I want to read a particular post, which I'm certain I've read on the show before. It was back on 4chan or 8chan, back during the Uvalde fake school shooting. And it summarizes a great deal of, again, all of these events. And then what I want to do is I want to play a piece of audio from CBS's local affiliate there in Minneapolis. It's about 6 minutes long. And it's embarrassing for a variety of levels. In fact, it's so embarrassing that I, again, put it on my social media accounts on Gab and X. And you can watch the video yourself because it almost is one of those videos that you have to physically see. Because what you will see is individuals laughing and smiling as they're talking about dead children. Now, if kids really died, would you be laughing and smiling? Or again, would you just be a really bad actor receiving a paycheck? Even the priest himself is smiling. The priest. And then he's attempting to look sad, and then he's smiling, and then attempting to look sad. I mean, these people, again, deception is everywhere, and it's the devil's game. And again, that's not a Christian church by any stretch of the imagination. They're Masonic. Because again, only a satanic church would allow something like this to actually take place, that is a scripted event designed to deceive people. So let me read this post first, and then I'm going to play the audio, of course, and then I'm going to get into the GoFundMes. Remember the GoFundMe pages from Uvalde and the money amounts that those so-called dead kids were receiving along with their so-called parents? It's the same thing here. Hundreds of thousands of dollars is being doled out to those who are both dead and alive. But here's the 8chan post, or 4chan, or wherever this particular post came from. They said, quote, "After a few decades of living in this world, you develop a sixth sense for sensing patterns, blatant bullshit, and degrees of probability, especially if you happen to have a brain that was geared toward these things to begin with. These frequent killings of groups of random innocent people simply aren't possible. People in the United States, whether sane, insane, medicated, or unmedicated, if they're actually going to arrive at a point where they're willing to kill a group of people, are many thousand times more likely to kill a group of people that they feel engaged in injustice against them or against people they know or care about. If these random mass killings were legitimate, there would simultaneously be many thousand times more killings and bombings of politicians, CEOs, judges, bosses in meetings, malpractice doctors, churches involved in molestation, and police departments, etc. It says killings of random people in schools, movie theaters, restaurants, and such would be virtually non-existent in comparison. On the other hand, if a corrupt government agency were staging events to scare people into believing that they're not safe anywhere, and that police state expansion, including more gun laws, and support of military invasions is needed to keep them safe, well, then what we're currently seeing is exactly what you'd expect to see." Unquote. And they're right. Endless individuals, for example, angry people, okay, may get a cancer diagnosis, a terminal cancer diagnosis. And sometimes these individuals go out and find someone who wronged them, and they kill them. And then they might kill themselves after the fact. Or they might just kill them straight up, period, and then say, you can throw me in prison if you want, but I'm dying of cancer anyway, so I'm not going to last very long. Again, remember the old story, and it was this year. I believe it was this year, back in the spring or late winter, of the Kentucky former sheriff or current sheriff. He was one or the other, who walked into a Kentucky judge's office and pointed a gun at him and shot him and killed him. He did that, of course, because the sheriff or former sheriff found the judge's phone number on his daughter's cell phone. And as it turns out, the judge, of course, was running a brothel and a sex trafficking operation, so to speak, out of his own office. And he was a Jewish judge, for what that's worth, but, it is what it is. Point is in a so-called random killing, and there's nothing random about that, but that right there again is where most shootings are likely to take place. They're most likely to take place among individuals or toward individuals that have engaged in an injustice or a wrong toward another group of people. Again, just like the post said, individuals who are doctors, certainly doctors within the last 5 years, who have killed copious amounts of people. If individuals really wanted to engage in some kind of a mass shooting, why wouldn't they just do it in a hospital? Why wouldn't they shoot up a bunch of nurses who gave people COVID shots blindly, killed all of their patients or made them ill, or again did the exact same thing regarding doctors? Why wouldn't they do that? Again, these so-called mass shootings are a figment of people's imagination because they are quite literally fiction. And as I've said before, and I said it in the last episode, that it's very difficult for people to wrap their mind around that level of evil and that depth of evil, because it is deep and it is broad. But isn't it funny, all of these so-called accounts that not only believe the shooting takes place, but that means that you have to trust Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, and you have to trust Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis. So do you trust these individuals now? You didn't trust them during George Floyd. You made fun of them during George Floyd, but now what? Now they're saying ridiculous things and sounding ridiculous, but you still believe the thing that they believe. It makes zero sense. Again, this is how thin the line between the real world and the Matrix really exists, and the number of people that live on that line between fact and fiction, between the real world and the fake world that's been built around us is amazing. And the number of people, again, that those individuals who live on that line who claim to be on the far right and be the so-called awake and knowledgeable, I'm sorry, they're not. You're either telling the truth and figuring out what that is through your own investigation and broadening your mind, or you're a part of the problem. Because if you perpetuate even one lie, then that makes you a liar. I find it depressing to some extent, but again, how many times can these events occur time after time after time, and people don't start to pick up on the anomalies of these because they're right in your face? So now let me play this particular audio again. This is their CBS affiliate, WCCO Minnesota, CBS News Minnesota. This kicks off again with a Derek James, who's the news anchor here. This is 6 minutes long. Again, you're going to hear some of the different individuals, again, that are in past videos, and you're going to hear from the priest himself. They even make mention of the little redheaded kid, and how, again, he was giving all of these interviews very casually about two of his friends being shot in the back and chewing gum the entire time, and not sweating and not crying and not looking upset, but clearly memorizing a script and reading a script. And then he says something about having a little piece of shrapnel in his neck, and really all it looks like is somebody just took, a dark pen and put a little dot right on the side of his neck. It just looks like a mole. But even that kid has a GoFundMe page. Because allegedly, as the story goes, it's a bullet fragment that is dangerously close to his carotid artery, and he needs surgery to remove it. If that were true, then why was the kid giving interviews on the street the day of, like nothing had happened, with no emotion, no panic? And if he had been struck with a bullet fragment, wouldn't the area around the so-called wound at the very least be swollen or irritated or agitated or something along those lines? Visually red and inflamed in some way? Not the case. Smooth as molasses, that kid's skin, in particular around a so-called wound. Again, it it blows me away. It just blows me away that people just cannot see this when it's right in front of their faces. So give this local news outlet a listen. Again, it's one of those where you're going to have to physically see it with your own eyes, because the audio won't do it justice. But again, you'll see these individuals smiling in the video. And like I said, you can get on my Gab account or X account and you can see it right now. Or you can wait until Monday night's war video and I'll play it for you there. Either way, give this a listen in 3, 2, 1.
Some never made it home in the wake of the tragedy. 2 children lost their lives, 10-year-old Harper Moisky and 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel. As the community came together tonight for Mass, the pastor reflected on his own memories of that tragic day and his hope for the future. Ashley Grams has the story.
For days, mourners have gathered in grief, bringing flowers and candles to Annunciation Catholic Church and school. These 2 friends doing the same.
But we are here as believers, Catholics, to support this Christian community.
On Wednesday morning, as a gunman fired through the windows into the church, killing 2 children, Father Dennis Zarin was presiding over Mass.
It's a difficult memory, and it was loud. It just kept coming, and my first instinct was just to rush towards where the bullets were coming from.
The pastor recounting his effort to protect students in the sanctuary.
If I could have got between those bullets and the kids, that's what I was hoping to do.
Just days later, on Saturday night, Father Zarin gathered his parish for Mass for the first time since the attack.
Since Christ is Lord of heaven and earth.
Sharing a message of hope.
We watch for that light that will scatter every darkness. We watch for that light that will never fade, that will only grow stronger. We watch for that light of the world. That light, the world is Jesus Christ.
Bonnie and Joe Munn stepped out after Mass and told us they were touched by his message.
He doesn't read from the literature, he reads from his heart.
The 2 are glad to know this community can look to him as many seek comfort.
They're going to heal well with him being the pastor here.
Ashley Grams, WCCO News.
For the families of the survivors, there's also a long road to healing ahead, especially for 10-year-old Weston, a student who shared his story with us. Since our interview, doctors discovered a bullet fragment lodged in his neck, dangerously close to an artery. He will need surgery to have it removed. His family has started a GoFundMe to help cover medical costs. Outside Annunciation, there's a growing tribute to the victims of this tragedy. Adam Duxter shares what's drawing so many in and how many have a personal connection to the pain.
Church bells,
You can't describe it.
cutting through the silent grief of a community still in shock.
It's our community, it's our friends, it's our family. And when you see the windows gone and the memorials for little kids, you just don't have words to describe it.
For so many, the pain is personal.
We've known them since they moved in.
Ava Frank knew and babysat Harper Moisky.
Kind of doesn't feel like plausible. She's like the most outgoing, kid you'll ever meet. Full of color. She's great. She's been in our cabin. They're not neighbors, they're family friends. I go to school in Tennessee and no one knows about any of it. And I flew back this morning so I could be here.
Being here, what many say they have to do, whether they know these families or not.
When my mom's dad died in 2020, Harper and her mom painted a bunch of rocks with his initials on it for us to scatter around. So we have those who are the most outgoing people. So I'm happy to be back for her. Yeah.
Adam Duxter, WCCO News.
Finding out how to show support is one of the big questions many have right now. Frankie McGlister spoke to 2 Minneapolis residents thinking outside the box.
For many we've spoken to say that an online fundraiser simply isn't enough. It's ribbons like these and yard signs that you can see all across the Twin Cities area that is pure evidence of many community members showing support with boots on the ground.
Thank you for doing this. Yeah, thank you.
Linda Nucci has an organized spreadsheet of neighbors preparing for pickup.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right.
It's awful.
It's absolutely awful.
So she ordered a mass quantity of yard signs from a local printer and took to Facebook, telling neighbors to come and get them.
When anything like this happens, you just want to feel useful. You want to take that energy or that grief or that, uncomfortability and figure out what can you do with it.
And she's not the only one.
The plastic material is so that it can weather whatever Minnesota brings to us.
Sarah Henning is just one of 8 newly connected community members who facilitated a plan for ribbons like these, seen on street poles and trees across town.
8 o'clock on Thursday night, and by 10 p.m. we had a plan for how we wanted to reach out and mobilize the community.
The group's working alongside a more private few that are close with families of the victims.
We're building the plane as we fly it a little bit.
And nearly 300 volunteers helped Henning's group on Friday, tying nearly 3,000 ribbons.
We were able to get ribbons into Fletcher's neighborhood yesterday, and we've had several neighbors reach out about what that meant.
Team efforts, hoping to hit the heart.
Every time you talk to somebody, you're hearing a different story.
I want them to experience unbelievable love after unbelievable tragedy. That's why we're doing it.
And if you're looking to help and don't know where to start, we have a list of verified resources over on WCCO.com. Frankie McLister, WCCO News.
The group distributing ribbons says they're working on a greater plan to recycle the material when appropriate. We will keep you posted on what they do.
It's absolutely terrible. And when you, again, watch the video itself, it's even worse. It's worse visually. I mean, that was bad as far as the audio was concerned, but good God. First of all, the priest has to be gay. He has to be. One of the news anchors was. It's just like they're everywhere. And then, of course, again, when he's describing the shooting, he's smiling and laughing and chuckling, and then again trying to look like he's upset. There's never any tears in the eyes of these people. It's just, they're just doing that, and that's it. There's no tears, none. There's more laughing than anything else, laughing and smiling. Haha, we're putting up ribbons. Ha. It's like, wait a minute. I thought people are dead. I thought you just had a real shooting in a church where kids died. What's with the PR campaign? What's with the yard signs? It's disgusting. The one girl who was being interviewed again and saying that she was friends and used to babysit one of the dead kids, she's not dead, but one of the fake dead kids, she's laughing and smiling the whole time. The whole time. I'm telling you, these people are getting paid. They're getting paid good money. And speaking of that, again, of course, they brought up the Weston kid. Support Weston's healing journey. This is on GoFundMe. If you get on GoFundMe and in the search box you type in Weston, his is the first one to pop up. And again, as I took a screenshot of this, I think it was over like $31,000. And they're looking to raise $40,000. This kid doesn't have a bullet wound in his body anywhere. It's money laundering. And this is exactly how they get it done. They did this in Uvalde in ways that were, well, frankly, paled in comparison, although they are sort of comparable to some extent, I should say. If you, again, type in Minneapolis Catholic school shooting in the search bar, they all pop up, all of these so-called victims. So first, there's the Minneapolis, Minnesota Support Kristen and Annunciation. And it says, let's see, they were looking for $5,000 is all, and they've raised $2,835. I don't know who that particular person is. It's just kind of a random person on a stage singing, apparently. Then they have St. Paul, Minnesota, help victims of the Minneapolis school shooting, blah, blah, blah. They're looking to raise $210,000, and they already have $154,000 in change. And now you're getting into so-called victims, or the wounded, or whatever. Support Sophia, looking to raise $700,000, and they've already raised $641,618 for one kid. Here's another one again. This person was asking for $35,000 is all. This is an Andre, 8th grader apparently, and they've raised $217,746. Help Lydia and the Kaiser family. They're looking for $300,000, and they're almost there with $270,700 plus dollars. Then there's Victor. You may remember the name Victor. Victor is allegedly the friend of the redheaded kid who was hit. Remember when the redheaded kid said, "Yeah, my friend got hit. He got hit," and then Victor got hit. Who says hit? Who says that? Is he a Vietnam vet? Jackson's been hit. Medic. I mean, kids don't say that. Video game playing kids are not. They don't say, "Yeah, he got hit," and then say it casually like that. It's not how you behave. But this Victor kid, again, was looking for $300,000. He surpassed it at $988. You're talking about $250,000 to $500,000 for each of these kids. Support Vivi and her family. They're asking for $180,000, and they're already up to $144,900. Here's another one again asking for $180,000, and this kid, this David Haig, is up to $139,000 plus. Another kid's asking for $220,000, and they're already up to $172,800. And then the one dead kid, allegedly. Again, this is the Harper female who allegedly died, who didn't die. This particular individual is asking for $320,000, and they're up to $234,000. And then the church itself, ladies and gentlemen, the church itself is asking for money, and they're asking for $1.29 million, and they've already raised $716,000 plus. It's fake. The whole damn thing is fake. Let me mention a few other things. Again, the architecture of the building, as it turns out, is kind of accurate based on the way that it was initially described. There were stained glass windows. They were remarkably thin. You could not see through them because, of course, it's stained glass. They did go to the ground almost. So again, if there was shooting that was actually taking place, or again, they were just breaking windows with something else, whether that be with blank rounds or whatever. In the video that was taken on the inside of the church, which I put in the last war video, you can actually see this, and then you can see the edited version. Because again, even they picked up on the anomaly that they were apparently not aware of as they first started to film it. First of all, during a real school shooting, you wouldn't pick up a cell phone and start recording. Most people wouldn't, certainly not adults. The first response in a real shooting of any kind, regardless of where it occurs, certainly if children are involved, you would think, is that the adults themselves would be concerned about the location of the children and protecting the children, not grabbing their cell phone and hitting record. So two particular individuals, two adults, one grabs a cell phone and starts recording, and the other is casually holding one of the doors open from inside the church, where again they're having their mass, their morning mass, so to speak. And he's holding the door open, and the guy with the camera openly says, he goes, "Where's the shooter?" And he says it that casually with that tone of voice. "Where's the shooter?" And the guy holding the door goes, "They don't know." And he says it again, that sort of like brain dead casually. "Well, they don't know." And then the guy with the camera, again, as these students are walking and even running through and running past one another through this door, which again doesn't look like it's happening very quickly. Not to mention, why would you be recording right after a shooting when children are running right out of a church building? Again, that's not the first response to grab a cell phone and start recording. But if you want to record manufactured chaos and sell it as being real, then yeah, that's exactly what you would do. But here's where you can catch the anomaly. Number one, when they go in, when this particular individual goes in and starts to record, you don't see any of the panes of glass broken. Now, I understand it's stained glass, which means it's all connected and interconnected, and if one particular piece gets shot out, that doesn't necessarily mean that the whole thing is going to crumble. But you would assume you'd be able to see some kind of a bullet hole somewhere. You don't see any of that. Not again that you're necessarily that close to see a bullet hole, but either way, there's no immediate evidence that that's the case. Where the anomaly takes place in this video is in the very back of the room, in the back right section of the room, where there are pews lined up. In the alleyway, so to speak, or the walkway between two sets of pews, you can see some adults just kind of randomly standing around, but no one is on the floor. Everybody's just randomly standing around. And then, as the individual again continues to record, you then see a white male adult wearing shorts. They look like a male. They're tall enough and their legs are big enough to be, again, an adult male. They lie down on their stomach. And then their legs are sticking out from underneath the pew and basically in front of the pew on the floor with their legs in the walkway. So again, it's like, well, did the person just decide to lie down face first after some people were running past them randomly? I mean, why all of a sudden would you just lie down on your face and try to make it look like you were either dead or dying or wounded? And then again, in the second video, you can actually see that particular individual be blurred out because they don't want to show you that they were staging something there. Because in the first video, it's not blurred out and you can see that they're clearly staging something. But in the second video, they blur it out because they don't want you to see it. Again, a person has to take emotion out of the situation and look at it objectively, and then you can see right through it. But until these people get caught for fraud, money laundering, and a number of other things, until this gets caught officially on the record, and this is exposed in the very same media that perpetuates these lies as all of these shootings being fake, until that happens, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to keep happening. Just understand again that by and large, they are all fake. The Ethan Crumbley shooting in Oxford, Michigan was real. The trial was an absolute charade. But this one was without a doubt fake. They even went again to the father's home, who was a CIA agent, and the mother of the so-called shooter is apparently on the run, and no one can find where they are. Isn't that interesting? Or are they being protected by elements of the CIA? They even found a tactical vest, so said one news outlet, regarding again the father's home. They searched the father's home. The kid didn't live in the father's house anymore. Borrowed a car from a friend or something. Apparently the car was on the scene, yet no pictures of the car have been taken. No one's seen pictures of the actual automobile that this person allegedly drove, let alone any chalk outline or bullet casings on the ground or anything like that. I mean, there's no forensic evidence. There's just this really thin, like gray plywood stuff that's up in front of a number of windows, including the doors themselves. And then that's it, which means there's no real proof that there's actually bullet holes in any of the windows or doors because they're already boarded up. Again, why would you have pictures of the windows and doors already boarded up, but you don't have pictures of them with bullet holes in them? Not to mention the glass where the doors are that are boarded up, that kind of glass, if shot, would completely shatter the entire glass of all of the door. Not just like a singular bullet hole through the glass. It would shatter the whole thing. Maybe not the stained glass, but certainly not the front door or the back side door where, again, it shows this particular door in that news report is being boarded up. Again, it's just evidence, and it doesn't add up. But the psychological operations, again, last week were overwhelming. In fact, a listener to the show, and they know who they are, they sent this my way, and we communicate from time to time, and this is very well done, this particular website, but it's called powermentor.org. And it says here on August 27th, it says, public safety alert, hoax calls, real threats, stay aware. This is a list of all of the so-called hoaxes and threats and everything else that happened last week. You had, of course, they think that the Annunciation Church thing was real, but they mentioned that as sort of being the crown jewel of last week. And they've got a list here again of all of the fake calls and hoaxes. There's Rutland High School in Macon, Georgia, again, false active shooter call. Central Georgia Technical College, also in Macon, Georgia, same thing, multiple reports of active shooter, it was all fake. Lexington, Kentucky, University of Kentucky had one. University confirmed false report, all clear issued. Ames, Iowa, Iowa State University. The University of New Hampshire in Durham, New Hampshire, same thing. University of Arkansas, which I brought up, same thing. University of Colorado, Norland, there we go, Norland Library. Boulder, Colorado, same thing. Campus-wide shelter in place, reports of shots fired, cleared after police investigation. It says an individual co-leading an online group called Purgatory claims responsible for these recent hoax active shooter alerts at universities across the United States. Now, there's this group allegedly called Purgatory. And it says, who is Purgatory? It's organized as a violent swatting as a service group. It says Purgatory is a self-proclaimed online group linked to the extremist the COM, C-O-M network, infamous for swatting, doxing, harassment, and other violent provocations. The group offers services via Telegram, ranging from fake active shooter threats at schools to violence, such as slashings and brickings, quote unquote, all for as little as $10 to $95 depending on the target. Confirmed to be behind recent university hoaxes, a leader known as Gores claims direct responsibility for the spate of false active shooter alerts at U.S. colleges. These calls triggered widespread lockdowns and panic. Again, they track audio live streams of the hoax calls and even managed to direct warn some targeted schools. It says during one attempt on Bucknell University, a researcher phoned ahead to alert the institution that it was a hoax. It goes on here. Again, I have no reason to believe that this is fake. However, who sets this up? Is this CIA funded? Are they the one that sets it up? And if they do set it up, why? And these hoaxes, again, openly exist, and they're using this particular site as a way to promote these hoaxes or pay for them, then why do they still exist? Why does the website or Telegram channel still exist? Unless, of course, individuals associated with the CIA or other three-letter agencies are behind it and allowing it to exist. Again, they have to be the ones behind it. Not to mention having an organization set up like this that doesn't specifically say that they are the CIA, well, then they can just be the pincushion every single time that one of these hoaxes goes through, and they'll just say, well, it's an online group that does this for a certain amount of money that's remarkably cheap, and anybody can call in and do it. And they're the ones that do it, and that's how that gets done. And yet what? The government allows the group to, again, still exist. It just makes zero sense. So again, this is being done on purpose. It's all coordinated. It's not an accident. And it's done to not only soak up the news cycle and distract individuals from what's going on, but with the good things that are going on, you're seeing how the deep state plays their game. You're seeing how these sleeper cells play their game. And you're seeing all of the liars and demonic people that exist in our society. And they are everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. Okay, moving on, more education stuff. This is a local issue that sort of adds on to what I was discussing last week, and quite an interesting revelation. You may recall, again, in the last episode, I was describing how the local school district doesn't do background checks very well, and they're not going to admit it, but they certainly don't, and then they don't admit any fault regarding any of the background checks. Well, as it turns out, not only do they have the ability to do background checks, but they themselves have their own district-initiated background check technological device. And I added it at the end of the last Substack article that I was describing regarding their hiring of a sexual deviant. As it turns out, in June of 2024, the Talawanda School District hired a group called Biometric Information Management. And this particular software group, which the district paid approximately $6,500 for, along with some annual fee, it allows a school district, and certainly this one, to basically do an electronic fingerprint, from what I understand. Or at the very least, I should say, expedite a background check. And here's what it says. It says standard checks if the company uses automated systems similar to Checker or Accurate, which is apparently what these other systems are called. Results for basic criminal or employment checks could be available within 24 to 48 hours. More complex checks involve verifications requiring manual processes, such as contacting out-of-state agencies or international databases, could take 5 to 7 days or more, depending on the scope. It says if biometric data is part of the process, for example, identity verification, this step could be near instantaneous, seconds to minutes, but the overall background check timeline would still depend on the data sources queried. Basically, again, you're talking about getting a background check within 5 to 7 days, if not 2 days. And the district has had this for a year. And they're claiming that they don't use it. Well, then why in the hell do you have it? So let me play some audio here again of the district adopting this particular program from a year ago, last June of 2024, and how they claim that it will again expedite background checks and make it super easy and super fast for them to get this done quickly. Which again begs the question, why didn't they use it in the case of Dr. Joseph Hall, the sexual deviant? Or did they use it? And they were ignoring what came back? Or did they misuse it and they didn't get a full picture of what was supposed to come back? But what we do know is that they didn't do a character background check by just searching up his name on the internet and connecting some of the most basic dots that exist. Here's the board describing this in 3-2-1 from 1 year ago.
7E, it is recommended that the board approve a quote from Biometric Information Management for purchase of a complete national web check system at a cost of $6,500. This system will allow the district to conduct background checks, FBI and BCI on site. Have a motion to approve this.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion and questions?
I was just going to ask, I'm sure this is going to end up saving money, but how much, just curiosity, how much are we spending now on this?
So right now, we're probably not going to save money on it.
Oh,
hear me
okay.
why. Hear me on it. Because it's $6,500 up front, and then there's an $800 annual fee for it. Right now, any new staff members or staff members needing to renew their licenses have to have that background check. And the background checks, they usually go to the Miami Police, that's the closest to it, and they charge, or I think it's between $60 or $80 in that range. So this will allow us to do it in-house. We still have to pay $20 for one of them and $25 for one, so that's $45. So we're going to charge a little bit more, but not as much as what Miami. And the reason behind that is I want you to think about our classified staff, our staff that are only working 3 hours, for instance. It almost takes their entire paycheck or for a day to pay for this. The second thing that it will do, it'll speed it up. Right now, we're at the mercy of whenever we get those results back. And you've seen some of those issues when I put on personnel and then pending BCI background checks and stuff like that. Sometimes we don't get them quickly. So this will allow us to do it right then and there. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. I figured it seemed complicated before having to go somewhere else.
Yeah, it is. And then we sometimes lose people because, well, I don't want to do it. But When we bring them in to onboard them, we can do them right there, have their paperwork signed and everything.
So we will get a little bit of revenue. Again, right now, they are paying for their own background checks. We will continue that practice.
Yes.
We will bring in some revenue.
But when you talk about $6,500 to cover that, is
It's the upfront cost and then the $800 per year that we're going to be covering. But they will be paying for the test. So that aspect of it will be cost neutral.
And we still, am I understanding you correctly then, we still have to pay for each individual process?
Correct.
And that's the $20 and $25.
Correct. Correct. Yes.
So that's why we're asking them to.
Yes. We used to have this, and this was before I was superintendent, way back. I don't know if it was during your time, Shauna, where we used to have it, and it used to be the
fingerprint. Looks like a fingerprint.
Yeah. But then I don't know if the machine broke or whatever, or they didn't use it anymore, and when we went to Miami.
Thank you for that explanation. Any other questions or discussion?
Dorado?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Mr. Mead?
Yes.
Dr. Howard?
Yes.
Motion passes.
They're pathological liars. It's that simple. They lie to everybody right to your face. I mean, again, it's policy. It's school district policy to lie to the public. Schools do nothing wrong. They would never lie to you about anything. They'll tell you that things are more complicated when they're not. They're not going to tell you that they have systems in place to make things easier. They'll choose to not use those systems, or like I said, they'll use them. They won't get the results back that they want, that aren't favorable to the hire that they just made, and then they'll lie to everybody like everything is hunky-dory and everything came back just fine, when in fact, you hired a sexual deviant who had been arrested. They had the system in place to do a background check a year ago. There's no excuse for this. This alone should get a superintendent fired. This isn't going to work out well for them. Specifically regarding Dr. Joseph Hall, again, I've sent the formal complaint to the Ohio Department of Education regarding him, including the entire Substack article that I wrote and everything else, so that he loses his license. Because he should lose his license. This is a license-losing, license-snatching away activity that he engaged in. That at his previous place of employment, during his work hours, he left to have gay random sex with a gay random dude at a gay random house in a town that he had been there before randomly to have gay random sex at. But in this particular case, it was with somebody, again, he didn't know at a random place, and it just so happened to be the wrong house, and then he was criminally trespassed. Doesn't matter if, again, it's going to be expunged or not. It doesn't, none of that matters. The fact is that people like him do not belong around minors. They do not belong in this business of education. They just don't. But the business, unfortunately, is filled with people just like him. And it's filled with, again, board members and superintendents and treasurers that have no problem hiding things from the public and covering their own tracks. It is quite literally their policy to lie and cover their tracks. Now let me play this, and this is, again, in a separate vein in the field of education, but it's something that I've brought up on the show and written about for years. I told people this would happen, and it's certainly happening all over the place. When it comes to illegal aliens, or it comes to, again, foreigners who are here who cannot speak English, the American K12 school system cannot accommodate them. That's it. They are not equipped to accommodate individuals who don't speak English, don't speak it well, speak a foreign language, in particular if they are from Somalia. And then they come to America and they want government to give them everything that they think that they deserve. Specifically, again, the American K12 school system. So what you're going to hear next is a Somali woman in the Westerville City School Board meeting back on August 25th of 2025 here this year. She comes up to the lectern and she looks at all of the board members and they all look like they don't know what the hell's going on. One of the individuals who is on the board is Somali because Central Ohio has a massive Somali population. Now, me personally, I would like them all to go home because they don't belong here. However, with that said, these board members again openly say, well, we have to make these accommodations because it's the law and we have to follow the law and we care about the law and we have to make these accommodations. This is where they get it wrong. What they don't understand is that as an American school district, if you don't have the resources to accommodate individuals who are either incredibly handicapped or, again, don't speak English, then there's only so much that you can do with those people. But one of the things that you can do is suggest that they homeschool. That is one of the things that you can suggest. And of course, if every avenue is exhausted and these individuals who, again, are foreign and do not speak the English language are still not getting what they think they want or what they think they need, then if homeschooling isn't the option, because clearly the American K12 brick and mortar buildings cannot accommodate these individuals, then what do? You look at them and you say, maybe you need to go home. People would say that's insensitive. I don't think so. I think it's logical. I would never go to Somalia and be like, I don't speak your language. I don't even know what language they have. Is it called Somali? I have no idea. I don't care. I'm a white American. Don't care. That's it. It's that simple. I don't give a damn about Somalia. Never lived there, will never go there, don't care. I'll never go there, though, and then be like, you have to give me what I deserve. Because my kids who don't speak your language aren't having their needs met, and you're supposed to meet their needs. Yes, I wasn't born here. Yes, you're not my culture, blah, 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 but you need to support my needs. Only a full-blown communist would believe such a thing, that their needs have to be met, by a culture that has nothing to do with their own culture. This is why assimilation is a mistake, because you can't assimilate with this. And this right here, again, is the soft bigotry and the hard hypocrisy of these school districts and these school boards, because when faced with the very thing that they've been inviting this whole time, they have no idea what to do. They look like deer in headlights. And by the way, in this board meeting, it's almost one of those that you'd have to watch. I don't expect anybody to watch it, but in the front row of the public, and it's not heavily populated by public participants, not by a long stretch, but there's a Somali dude, and he's in the front row, and he looks completely handicapped. He looks like he's in his 30s or 40s, and he's bouncing around in his chair, and he's waving his hand around, and he looks crazy, but he looks, again, mentally handicapped. I don't know if she's referring to him as being her son. I don't know who this dude is, but this whole situation is unmanageable. But again, this is one of the things that the American K12 school districts don't have figured out, is that they get to look at these foreigners and simply say, we cannot accommodate you. We don't have people here who can speak your language and walk around with your kid from class to class every single day and interpret English for them into whatever language you speak and make all of those necessary accommodations. We can't do that. We aren't equipped for that, which means you have to teach your child at home. That's your responsibility. You can enroll them in all of the free online schools that exist in the state of Ohio and elsewhere. But we can maybe help find you a tutor or something like that. But if they don't speak your native tongue, then that person's not going to be able to help you. Again, assimilation is a mistake. These people do not belong here because we don't have the resources to meet their necessary accommodations, because their accommodations are unrealistic. But give her a listen, complaining about all of this Somali woman, in 3, 2, 1.
Would you please just state your name for us?
My name is Ferdowsa Ahmed, and on behalf of my son, his name is Jabril Warsame, and have some difficulty for his school. Last 2 years, he go to school 5 years, and he special need child, and have difficulty last 2 years. So I come that reason to help it today. I try to contact to the school and special education, but still I'm feeling I'm not getting the help I need out or he need my son. So that's why today I come to the poor. I say I have to find someone help me.
Thank you. Miss Gertie Glass is right there with her hand up. If you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I met her last year.
Okay.
And I don't find the help I needed. I missed the school last 2 months of school year, April and May, because the difficulty I have in school, and I was confused and I keep at home for his safety. So I met her, and I met her Adam, and I met her, what's called her name, Linda. All of them, I don't get the help I needed.
Well,
or he need my son, he need.
Okay. So, is he here? Oh, sorry, I didn't see. Oh, yeah.
Mr. Cooper.
Mr. Cooper in the back could
with
help you. He's our chief of academics.
Okay.
If you would want to talk with him, and then we'll be sure to follow up with him too to make sure that.
Christy, yeah, may I? Yes, thank you so much for coming. I can't imagine it's very difficult for you to come and share that publicly. Sidesha again, Mark Cooper, Beth Adisa, and definitely know board to each of us. You can email, give us a call. We definitely care. We want to make sure that your child gets the assistance that they need. And you'll be very well taken care of. So jazakallah khair. I know wax adeeganad imaadid and then cunug xanuunsana waa leedahay. So anigana waxyar.
Cunuga haystaa weliba ninkan kalena waa joogaa laakiin since 2005 I was Westerfield District School. For the last 2 years, what I face him, I never had it. Almost 5 children, they graduate. Even my daughter, she is with me. She is nurse, she graduate. She started Wilder School, kindergarten.
So how did
elementary, she go middle school, high school, and now she go Mota Carmel School of Nurse.
Yes.
So, but last 2 years, what I have it, I see it, I never see it.
Yes. So at the anigana bananka
last week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I come to this office, the building. The lady who's secretary downstairs, she sent the email by phone. Nobody answer her. Nobody come to me. Nobody talk to me.
Well,
even the email she sent it, nobody answer to me.
So thank you, Hatta White Imate. You came. We got, we definitely hear it. We'll make sure that we follow up, and Mark in the back will take care of you. And I think everyone on this board agrees. We'll get that information and make sure that you're very well taken care of and your children as well. So Jazakallah khair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. You will be.
Oh, we have one more. Okay. Okay. Welcome. And could you please just state your name for the board? Thank you. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dahir Omar. I'm the community member. I've been in Westerfield community member since 2004, when my first child started kindergarten. All my children started kindergarten at the McFay Elementary, and they also went to the Walnut Middle School, and they graduate North High School. And guys, thank you for sending my child to Columbia University for free ride. I'm from Somali community, and you hear what this young lady was talking about now. I know 2,000 and more Somali children attended to Westerfield schools, and the same number go to the Columbus city schools. And at least 20 Somali teacher assistant work with the Columbus public schools. And so far, I knew only one person worked for Westerfield City Schools. And I believe that our children, anyway, we are the first generation, and English is not our first language. And most of their families have a language barrier. And we are in the stage that some families, children, and the parents don't understand each other. Because the parents don't speak Somali in English, and children don't speak Somali. And we don't have enough help within the Westerfield schools. And when the parents come to school, Westerfield schools for children, sometimes they depend on their child to translate for them. And let's say this child made a mistake and you send it home, say, call your parent, and the parent will come to school with the child next day, and the translator will be the child. And he will tell the parent every good thing. What a bad thing you said, he will translate to good thing to the parent. And that's what also we are really happy and supporting the levy because we know that's important. And thank you very much. And actually, we need to see more Somali English speakers into the public Westerfield schools. We really need it. And I think we know we are competing other literacy schools like Dublin, North Arlington, whatever. And just if the 2,000, 3,000 children don't get enough education and their grade was low, that impacted to Westerfield schools too. And I think we need to think about to have more Somali speakers in the schools as assistant teachers to help those children. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming today.
First of all, again, sorry if the audio's not clear. I love the condescending way in which the board president, Miss Meyer, talks to them. That's hilarious, number one. She talks to them like they're children, even though they're much older than she is and older adults. Oh, thank you, thank you. Number two, this again is exactly why the school system cannot accommodate these people. They just told you why they can't be accommodated. They have no business, again, even being here, number one. And number two, you're sending them to an American school district where the teachers are not bilingual. They're majority white. And that's the way that it is, along with the staff members. Because Westerville is, again, a very large white town. So what are you asking for? You're asking for something that they can't give you. But that's the vast majority of most American schools. They're not giving anybody what they allegedly want, which means why even rely on them then? Now, the second guy who spoke, I mean, it was an interesting point, and he's not wrong. He said you have children of Somalis, of Somali parents, who speak English. The kids speak English, and they don't speak Somali. But the parents don't speak English, they only speak Somali. Seems like a problem. And then, of course, he brings up discipline, and he goes, well, if the kid is disciplined, then there's no way the parent's going to find out because the kid's just going to lie to the parent and say that everything is fine when, in fact, it's not. And the previous Somali woman goes, yeah, I've talked with those two women in the back of the room that you had me talk to a year ago, and they didn't help me for shit. Well, the fact is no one can help you. They don't have the accommodations. These people don't know what the hell they're doing. They all kick the can. None of them speak Somali. They can't give you the right resources. These people don't even understand that there are online translators that exist on computers. But that's best used in a home environment. So again, do you want your English-speaking Somali kid to learn Somali in a Westerville school, or do you want them to learn and continue to learn English, which allegedly they already know? Not to mention, if the kids don't know English and they only speak Somali, good luck in an American school, let alone in the middle of Midwest Ohio, in a generally white-populated area. Again, I'm at a loss here because it's so obvious that this is the problem facing this country. Assimilation is a mistake. We shouldn't have to bend over for them. It should be the other way around. Learn English, figure it out, use the internet, buy a computer, get on the internet, and start bouncing around on how to translate things from English to Somali or whatever language you speak. Seems like the school district at the very least could suggest that in a packet that they just give the parents. If your Somali kid is handicapped or special ed or needs learning accommodations or whatever. Again, if their needs can't be met because of these language barriers or behavioral barriers, then school's not the place for them. Go home. Go back to your home, again, either in Westerville, or pack your bags and get on a plane and beat it. I know people think that sounds insensitive. It isn't. It's a fact. Like I said, you wouldn't catch me dead in Somalia trying to, bang on their lecterns and be like, hey, you need to meet my needs. I don't speak your language. Give me what I want. That would never happen. This is why there are borders. This is why countries have different names, different cultures, because when you assimilate or attempt to, or become a quote-unquote melting pot, everything turns to shit. And you'll never be able to clean it up. And again, if they think they're going to pass a levy, or pass a levy based on this outrageous need that you can't throw enough money at, that money won't even fix, good luck, because that's not going to happen either. Again, the Somali board member, I'm certain, invited these people in, because the Somali board member was hired to represent, and I should add this, the Somali board member is an interim board member. No one voted for this person. They just filled in a year ago. So they picked this person, but she was picked again to represent the Somali population. And you heard the guy, he goes, we have 2,000 Somali students in this school district alone. That's a boatload of Somali students. Again, I don't know what percentage of them speak English or don't. It's none of my business and I don't care. But again, that's a problem. Because these parents, again, are wanting particular things that the school district cannot provide. And the fact is that school districts can't provide it, period, regardless of where they are. Unless the school district is in Somalia. So, yeah. By the way, the Doug Krinsky guy showed up again, too, and he knocked it out of the park. He looks him right in the face, and he goes, you're not going to get the levy. He goes, we understand exactly what you're doing. You're trying to raise income taxes. That's the actual tax that you're going to be putting on people, which means if you're a renter and you're working, you're getting taxed twice, because the renter and the property owner, of course, is going to have to raise rent, because renting out things is their income. So you're going to be taxing them on their already existing rent. And then, of course, the people who live there, like I just said, they're going to be taxed again, because their rent's going to go up. And then they're having more money taken out of their paycheck. These school districts disgust me because they're thieves. They're all thieves. And they're just stealing all of the time. And people are gullible enough to vote for it. Doug Krinsky was the only non-levy guy speaking at the last board meeting. 2 other people did. This huge older dude who was like, I've lived in this district for some odd years and I support this levy 100%. And it's like, well, you're an idiot because you apparently love taxes and you love watching other people have their money stolen from them. So go away. And then this other woman shows up, this younger gal. And she said, I graduated from here. I went to college, blah, blah, blah. And then I did some traveling. And after college, because I wanted to travel and take a couple of years off or something along those lines, or I don't even know if she's gone to college, but either way, she was a younger looking gal. And again, it was all emotion. She's like, oh, I took Westerville for granted and, I traveled the world and it was great, but now I'm back and I love it here and I just can't imagine the school system not having the things that it needs to be successful, and that's why I support the levy. This is coming from a woman who's never worked in her life. She's never had a job. She's never had money stolen from her. Now, she's been taxed before. Sales taxes, you name it. Her parents have been taxed. But she's never paid for a single thing in her entire life, and she's up there telling everybody that she supports the levy. Levies are not free. It's a tax. The fact that you have to explain this to a Westerville High graduate who apparently doesn't know what a levy means, I mean, good Lord. These people are brain dead. That levee's going to fail bigger than you can possibly imagine, and I will bring it to you when it does. Okay. Jab-related stuff. Lots of news, and it's getting juicier as time goes on here. Quick headline, RFK Jr.'s HHS slashes $122 million across nearly 200 DEI LGBT-focused research projects. Good. Of course, September is also Preparedness Month, and this is the month where, again, like I said at the top of the show here, where RFK is going to be rolling out these studies that he's been engaging in and has had numerous people engage in, where, again, they're going to show that all the shots are poison, regardless of the shot, regardless of the vaccination, and they're going to have to take them off the market. They don't have a choice. Now, you're familiar with the name Kristen Welker. This is the gal who works for NBC. She's a complete piece of trash. She's kind of the Indian-looking gal who, again, I don't know, is very smug and know-it-all. She was interviewing one of these former employees of the CDC who apparently left because he disagrees with everything that's going on. And, of course, the old head of the CDC just resigned last week also, which is absolutely fantastic because, well, she's a leftist, and it was pretty evident that she was going to be a bit of a hurdle while working there and certainly be a problem. But Kristen Welker was interviewing this guy, and she openly says the following, and again, it's arguably the dumbest thing that I've probably ever heard out of her mouth, although she's very good at it. But she said, the science has debunked that's been debunked by the science. The business of vaccines being unhealthy and harming people. That was her actual quote, was that the science has debunked that claim. No, it hasn't. It's the exact opposite. Case in point here, Nicholas Hulsher, MPH, on August 30th on their Substack Focal Points, thefocalpoints.com. They wrote the following here. Breaking, first population-wide study finds COVID-19 vaccines increase risk of multiple cancers. Now, we've known this, but again, the study is out. Official government data from nearly 300,000 people tracked for 30 months show mRNA shots significantly increase the risk of overall cancer, breast cancer, bladder cancer, and colorectal cancer. And it increases them again, overall cancer by approximately 23%, breast cancer by 54%, bladder cancer by 62%, and colorectal cancer by 35%. I'll link this in the description below if you're interested in sending this to people. It's alarming. In conclusion, however, there is this also, and I will link this in the description below too. This is from diamondz.substack.com, Real Truth, Real News, and it was titled Dr. William Mackis's Ivermectin Dosages for Cancer. And it's got lots of visuals here. Again, the entire thing is free. It shows you exactly how much to take. Of course, it's based on kilograms, milligrams per kilogram. Of course, you work out the kilograms back into pounds, and then you can figure out how many milligrams an individual is supposed to take. It has a video on there also. There's a low dose, a medium dose, a high dose, and a very high dose. Again, depends. He has it broken down here depending on the different kinds of cancer. Same thing with fenbendazole and their dosage also. So again, there's resources out there. The cure for cancer exists. It's existed for a very long time. It's always been, again, right underneath our noses. But because of what went on in 2020, all of this came to the surface, much to the dismay, of course, of the entire medical system. So I'll link the description below on both that study and William Mackis's cancer treatments. If you know someone who has cancer, I highly recommend, again, giving ivermectin, fenbendazole, menbendazole, and these other drugs a try because they're not expensive to purchase. And why wouldn't you just give it a try? It's worked for endless people, including today, in particular individuals who stay on the protocols. So there you go. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, as always, thanks for listening. I'll catch you on Wednesday. Peace. Thank you for listening to American Education FM. Make sure and check out AmericanEducationFM.com for more information. Take care and God bless.